So here is my new bookshelf that I got from IKEA. I think it was about 50 or 60 bucks, and it only came with 4 shelves. And so I bought 6 extra shelves, only managed to fit 5 more in there. And the shelves were like $5 a piece, so that's like, what, 80, 90 bucks total, plus tax. But I really like the way it looks. I probably could have got something cheaper somewhere else, but this looks pretty nice. Anyway, I've got all my Master System games on the first shelf, and then second shelf, the rest of the Master System games with some Genesis stuff. And I've got more Sega Genesis, which almost all of this is complete in the box. And more Sega Genesis, some 32X. And then these are my loose Sega Genesis cartridges. Some are dupes. There's a few 32X down there. And then there's some Master System games down there. Right here, this is my small PC Engine collection, which is slowly growing. I think I've got a really nice set of games and hope to continue going down that path. My 64 games you've seen in my pickup videos. PlayStation 2 network adapter disc. I've got the network adapter, but I don't have a fat PS2. These are a few game soundtracks. This is Akumajo Dracula Best 2, and this has the soundtracks from the Super Famicom version, the Game Boy. Yeah, so this is the SNES Castlevania soundtrack with the first 2 Game Boy games soundtracks. It's 2 CDs long. And this is the Dracula MIDI collection. It's MIDI remixes of Castlevania songs. And it has some wallpapers and stuff like that on the CD. It's kind of old. This is Dracula Best 1, which has the soundtracks from Castlevania 1, 2, and 3. It's got the Famicom disc version of the Castlevania 2 soundtrack with a couple of the NES tracks as well. And then this is a pirated CD. This is Dracula Battle 2. And then, which that's also Castlevania music. This is the Samurai Showdown 3 arranged soundtrack. And then we've got another pirated CD, MIDI Power, and Sonic Adventure soundtrack. Got this not too long after Sonic Adventure came out in Japan, I guess. I imported a Dreamcast when they first came out, and I was a huge fan of the first Sonic Adventure. And then my DS games, I gotta add my other ones in there. This is X-Men vs. Street Fighter for the Saturn. This is what it looked like whenever you bought the package that came with the game, plus the 4 meg RAM cartridge for the game. They sold them separately as well. Then I got my NES collection, which I have no more room. Well, I got a little bit of room. I've got room to stick 4 cartridges up there. There's 1 down here, so I can fit 3 more in there. And this is my PlayStation collection. Some of these are in really good shape, but they're missing discs. Like, I've got Final Fantasy VII, which is in awesome condition, but I'm missing 1 or 2 of the discs. Then Final Fantasy, what is this, Chronicles? Yeah, and that's missing 1 of the discs. Final Fantasy Anthology is missing a disc. Metal Gear Solid is missing the first disc. I don't know where those went, but eventually I'll get around to picking those up. Here's a few import games I've got. Dragon Ball Final Bout. This is a really bad game, but the US version went for a lot. For a while it was extremely expensive, because this was considered the best Dragon Ball game at one point, but it's really crappy. Pocket Fighter, bought that while I was in Japan in like 98 or so. This is a pirated copy of Bushido Blade, and I mean, these are actually pressed. This is actually pressed onto a silver CD. So I used to be able to get stuff like this for like $3 to $5 each on the internet a long time ago, before they really started cracking down on stuff. This is a pirated copy of Sexy Parodius, which is one of my favorite Parodius games. I'd love to get the arcade version of this, but it's like $150 or so. But I would probably drop that if I could find someplace that's not in Europe that's selling it. It's always like somebody in Europe or Taiwan or Australia that's got it. I got this in Japan in '97. This is the Japanese version of Symphony of the Night. It's called Actually, I don't know what it's called in Japanese. It's Gekka no something, but they call it Nocturne in the Moonlight. And the Japanese version of this game is different from the American one. The voice acting is really awesome. I mean, it's all in Japanese, but it's good. And there are also 2 extra familiars you can get in this version of the game as well. And the disc looks freaking amazing. It's got some light scratches on it. Taking care of it for the most part. It's gotten a lot of use. Then you've got the manual and came with an art book and a soundtrack, which it's not the soundtrack of this game, but it's just old music from various Castlevania games. And this is the Proteus Deluxe Pack, which has something, I think it's Gokujo Proteus or something like that, and then I don't know, it's got 2 Proteus games on it. And I got a couple Saturn imports. Darkstalkers. This is the Capcom Generation Volume 2, which is the Ghouls and Ghosts collection, the Makimura games over there, and Space Harrier, because I'm a big Space Harrier fan. And we got a few Dreamcast imports. Alpha 3, Jet Coaster Dream. I bought this before the American version was announced, because who would have thought they would have released an English version of a roller coaster simulator like this for the Dreamcast here, especially by some company called Bimbu Soft, but they did, and so whatever. I finished that game all in Japanese, just guessing. Dance Dance Revolution Second Mix. I used to really be into Dance Dance Revolution. I even had an arcade machine at one point, but I'm missing the disc for this for some reason. I think I loaned it to somebody and they moved, and that was that. And that's the rest of my Dreamcast games right there. And then on the very bottom shelf, got my Sega CD games and my American Saturn games. And here's a few loose ones. I guess this came with a system. Yeah, it came with a system at one point, not for resale. And check this out, Virtua Fighter 2. And it's in a Funko Land sleeve, as is Virtua Cop. On Saturn, the games that have this pink label on there, the Working Designs, they typically go for quite a bit of money. Working Designs is one of the few companies that was actually doing really good American versions of Saturn games over here, and for the most part they were taking a lot of the RPGs and things like that and translating them, and so they weren't making the games, but they were porting over high quality games. And then this is one of my favorites. This is the first Saturn game I actually purchased. This is Sega Ages. I bought it brand new at Funko Land for like $30. And in Japan they had, they released Sega Ages games as separate releases. So like you've got the Saturn version of Space Harrier here, and you see in the bottom right it says Sega Ages. Well, in the US, instead of releasing multiple games individually, they made this one package that has Space Harrier, Outrun, and Afterburner 2 all on one disc, and I think they all run at 60 frames a second. So I mean, this is, for the most part, these are the most perfect versions of these 3 games that you can get for a home system. I mean, they're even better than the 32X ones, of course. And my Knight's boxed in the box with the controller and everything. And that's my extra shelf that I didn't get to use. But anyway, that's my tower right now. So hopefully I'll get around to adding an extra, another one of these somewhere here in my game room, and can get around to filling that up.